welcome back. Today we're going to talk about why you should never move with an INTJ. But first, remember, if you're not subscribed yet, you should subscribe to this channel. And if you end up actually liking the content, then click like.
It's a good intro. Thank you for that, dear.
I tried.
What I want to talk about first is packing up with what we did was a 16-foot container, trying to pack your whole house into a container. And the thing was, there's a difference between a good enough pack job, which is kind of what I was about. Like, that's good enough, just get it in there. And then the other part, which was the ISTJ being super precise, making sure everything fits in a Tetris-like scenario, whereas I had less patience. And I was just like, what are we going to do here? Is it good enough as is, or can we make it better? The TE efficiency of the ISTJ.
Well, okay. I actually care about our things surviving. So, when I'm packing it up, I'm thinking about where should each little piece go, and is this like cushioned enough? And each box, I'm like shaking the box to make sure, like, okay, if this moves around, is anything, gonna rattle too much? So number one, I just feel like I care about our things surviving.
Right.
But number two, it is actually therapeutic for me. Like, I don't mind packing. I just turn on a podcast or listen to some music and just go.
My biggest issue was once it was in the container, that's where it was. There was no reconceptualizing of where it could go, or like I said, Tetris, where let's take it out, let's try this, let's put something else in there. No, that didn't work. It was, I've already decided this is with my NI vision, this is how it's going to go, and then it was laser focused from there. But with Deanna having inferior NE, it actually did work, I have to admit, in a way of being like, well, let's try it, let's try an alternative, and then we will iterate to the point where we will figure out the best way to do it.
Right. How do you know that the first thing you do is really the best way? I mean, we only have so much space, and
right.
We have to optimize it. So I know it's super annoying to like try and retry, especially when we're the ones lifting things. I'm not just like telling other people to lift stuff. Like, we're the ones lifting things. It's so annoying to try and retry, but I would be standing there looking at it going, well, if we move that and put this in first, then won't that be more efficient? And won't that give us the best outcome?
And I think we both had our own TE way of going about it. Since it's both in the parent slot for us, I think we were pretty set on the way that we're doing it is the best. And I think what was great is because Deanna is a natural project manager, and I'm just more like the laborer behind it. So I griped the whole time, but I still did it, and I'm grateful for it, because if I would have done it, what would have happened, if I was doing it by myself, I would have thrown out a bunch of stuff. Because that didn't fit, so let's just get rid of it. And I probably would have ended up spending hundreds and thousands of dollars down the line buying the stuff back that if I would have just taken a little bit more time and NE'd a little more and I thought about some alternate possibilities, it would probably be better. So thank goodness there wasn't another INTJ involved. It was an ISTJ that had a little bit of that NE to help us think, well, hold on, let's make sure that we've considered all options here.
I will admit that we definitely got very close to just leaving a bed on the side of the road because we were so frustrated. I mean, it was 100+ degrees outside. Yes. We're in a metal container, and we're just like, I don't know how this is gonna fit, and it would have literally been over $1,000 to replace the frame and the mattress and everything, but we legitimately looked at each other and we were just like, should we just get rid of this? So I mean, I was there too, but I think we both considered it, and then I was just like, no, when there's a will, there's a way, legitimately, to make this work. Let's stop and think, and let's try and be creative.
Yeah, and I think what it comes down to, and a lot of INTJs and ENTJs will know this, is that SE being overworked. It's really too much, it's detail, and you just get overwhelmed with how much work it is, just like the finite stuff it's like we have so much more pack, but we're focusing on this little part. Like, how do we get this little box into this space? And then I felt like we were taking too much time, and then I was sweating, and I was like, when we get to where we're going, we are definitely having someone unpack this for us, because the DIY stuff's great. You learn a lot about yourself, but you can't. It just makes you want to never, ever, ever do it again. I think that's that inferior SE coming out of the INTJ, where it's like, this is just not the detail I want to focus on.
For me, it's like, I know this is going to be sucky. Like, I just embrace it. I go into it with the mindset of like, it's hot outside. This is just going to be awful. So let's just accept it. So I don't let it bother me as much. I mean, I understand how it's going to be, and I just keep going. I don't know if you would call that grit or...
Yeah, I would call it grit, and just like you reframed your mindset in a way that's like, you preempted yourself to go, this is going to suck and be terrible. Maybe I didn't do that as well. I thought it'd be easier, and I in my head, I thought the container would be bigger. So I'd be like, oh, we're going to have plenty of room. And it turns out like right away we didn't. So I didn't prepare enough for that. So on the second half of packing is finding a house and looking at homes once you've actually moved, what that's like working with the INTJ. Because I think, and I'll speak first on this, is I think that I look at homes as like, this will work, this is fine. And I felt like during the house hunt, it was much easier for me to go, yeah, we could live here. I could live in this house. And then Deanna being much more picky. I wasn't into perfection as much as the INTJ stereotype would say, because I always get pushback on this where people go, no, I focus on every detail. I'm a perfectionist, and I'm just like, this will do.
I do, like, legitimately, Joe wanted to make an offer on a house every single day when he saw houses. Like, he's like, yeah, let's make an offer. Yeah. And I was the one having to, like, reel him in, like, okay, hold on, like, let's press pause. Because I think as an ISTJ, I'm trying to engineer the house hunt.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the constraints. So what are the constraints? Maybe our timing of by the time, we want to move in by X date.
Yeah.
And our budget, of course, is constraint. And I'm looking at optimizing those outcomes, like what neighborhood and, how many bedrooms and functionality and things like that. So Joe's just like, yeah, we could live here, which I agree. There's a lot of houses we could live in, but I can't help as an ISTJ to try and engineer it, to optimize it. Maybe it's like less efficient because it's taking more time in terms of executing buy a house, but I don't think that the goal should be buy a house. The goal is buy our house. And I just knew, which I think this is not very ISTJ of me, but I knew that when we walked into our house, we would just know. It would be just like a feeling, and I think that actually did happen.
Yeah, I think it did. So there was a little bit of that. I don't know which part of it is about the INTJ. I think there's a little bit of asceticism, or just being like, material possessions, a house is your largest material possession, but I wasn't like, let's not get caught up on the materialism of the house, because when you move, it's like you don't move because of a house. You move because of an area, new lifestyle. So the house is a part of it, but I was thinking like, okay, like we can manufacture a way to be as happy in this house as the next house we're going to find. So that was my mindset. But this is why you need a partner where you're doing it to counterbalance some of the insane things you might be thinking. Because there would be regrets like, I just moved too quick.
I got the feeling that you just wanted it over with.
There's definitely that. There's definitely that. Like, house hunting is not in the market that is currently, when this video is being filmed in August of 2021, it is not super exciting to be in the market because you don't have any time. Yeah,
I just feel like I know it's a sucky market to be in. However, I wasn't going to compromise too much. I know, I always say, which is not a real saying, but I always say, patience is the key to success, which is like not an actual,
not a real saying,
but that it's a Deanna saying. Like, I always say, I just knew that we've got to be a little bit more patient than offering literally on the first house we see today,
right?
And we'll just know at that point.
Yeah, and I think the one last thing that was like a cause of contention was that I really didn't have any strong views in terms of like color or any particular room needed to be a certain way. The only thing was like, I really wanted a basement. That was my main thing. And then anything else could be adjustable, or we could remodel, or we could do, deal with a certain neighborhood or school district. But on certain things, I was like, absolutely not. But I felt like I was more actually complimentary to, like, if you want it that way, we can do it. Which is another thing with like the perfection issue that I think a lot of people misconstrue about INTJs is I don't think we're perfectionists in any sense. If you look at people like Isaac Newton, when he created calculus, it was a complete mess, made no sense. It was just like chaotic. So I think that I was not thinking we need to find a perfect house at all.
No, you were like, this is good enough.
This is
and
good
I
enough.
think actually a lot of things in life you approach that way. Like this is good enough. Like for me, whereas I will obsess over an image that I'm going to put on my website, for example, over like the minuscule, like I want that to be exactly even at that. And then you've made the argument, like, is someone going to buy more or less of this product if that column is shifted over by a little bit? And admittedly, I can say, no, you're right. So like if it were your website, you probably would have just been like, this is good enough. And for me, I would obsess and obsess. So essentially, you get to a point of this is the level of where it needs to be, and that's great. And for me, I think I'm more of a perfectionist than you, and it's kind of actually a downfall sometimes for me. It's like I can't
it can't be
finish it because it's got to be perfect before I post it,
So last thing I'll say on this topic is that if you are moving with an INTJ, just make sure you have NE in your top 4 function stacks, or you will have a major issue where you end up throwing stuff out because you're like unwilling to change your direction. It's like, well, I thought we were going to keep that, but we'll just get rid of it or donate it. And to play Tetris, and everyone kind of jokes about this, it will be Tetris, but you need someone that's willing to play that game or you will have the worst time ever. And just try not to move in the summer in California.
If you can control that, yeah. I mean, the summertime is probably the most common time people move because of school and everything like that. So, I don't know as much about personality type as you do, but I do feel like overall it actually went pretty smoothly for us. Like we worked together, we executed, and I don't think you griped too much. Maybe you were griping in your head. Yeah. Like more so like you were frustrated, but you just knew you had to, so you kept going. So anyway, I would just say, I mean, what do you guys think? Have you guys moved recently?
Yes.
Did you notice that like your partner's personality hindered or helped the situation? I want to hear your story. Let us know in the comments below, and we will talk to you next time.
I tried to live without you. Just can't get